time for Nerdgasm.
Hey, what's up guys? Jerry here, aka Barnacules, and today we're finally going to be reviewing the DJI Osmo gimbal stabilized handheld camera system. Now I had DJI send me over 2 of these units so that I could use one to record the review of the other, because I figured what better way to review a camera than to actually show you guys the entire video shot with that camera.
It's like cameraception.
So the camera you're watching me on right now is in fact the DJI Osmo, and we're gonna use it to record the unboxing of a DJI Osmo, and then I'm gonna review it and show you footage that I shot on it. It's very confusing, but just stick with it, it's gonna be cool. Alright, so when you receive your DJI Osmo, it comes in a box like this. It's actually a pretty nice box, really kind of plain with a picture of the unit on front of it, and you'll also get this little guy with it for free. This is the FM15 Flex mic. Now DJI decided to include the Flex mic with this product because the internal microphone on it quite frankly sucks. It's literally unusable.
No, bad, not bad.
Wait, what? I already opened it. Alrighty, let's see what we got inside. Thunk. Let's go ahead and open this bad boy up. Oh yeah. I actually quite like the case. It's really nice quality. And you can see inside it's fastened into place. This is cool that it comes with a case because it is kind of a fragile piece of electronics. I mean, gimbals are a bunch of very, very sensitive motors and they can move around in all kinds of directions. So you don't really want to be like bashing them around. If you do end up getting some extra battery packs and some other accessories, you probably want to get a bigger case since the one that comes with it only holds the camera and the one battery installed. This right here is a Nanook 910 case with custom fitted foam for the Osmo, and it actually works great. I picked up one for each of my Osmos just so I can kit it out, and I can also fit the charger in there and everything else. It's a great case, guys. I highly recommend these. And there you have it, your DJI Osmo. It also comes with a lens protector cap. You're going to want to hang on to that. Also comes with a cell phone mount that you can put just about any cell phone on it, even something as small as an iPhone or as big as like a Galaxy Note. You can't really get a tablet on here, but as far as phones, it fits just about everything. Now, one of the first things you'll notice is the camera that this comes with, and it is removable. You can actually take the camera off by turning the bottom collar and lifting it off. This is the Zenmuse X3. This is the exact same 4K camera that comes on the Inspire 1, which is a very expensive quadcopter. Now, if you feel like you need to do cinema quality video and you want to get your J.J. Abrams on, then you can actually upgrade this and get the X5, which is more of a cinema style camera, and they have an adapter that fits on here to support it and put it onto this platform so you can use it. It's really easy to put the camera on. You just pop it on the top and turn the collar at the bottom, and it locks it into place. Now, it only comes with a 16 gigabyte memory card installed, which is great to get you started, but if you're gonna be doing serious 4K shooting or 60 frames per second, 1080p, I highly recommend getting a 64 gig or larger memory card. Right now, I'm shooting on a 128 gigabyte memory card, and it has no problem reading it. So they include this Flexi mic right here, which is basically just a little microphone on the end of a 1/8 inch mini jack, like a headphone jack. And you basically just plug it right into the front of the Osmo, and this greatly improves the audio quality. Now, you're also going to receive a charger and a battery pack for it that comes with the unit, and the battery actually charges rather quickly. But my number one gripe with the DJI Osmo is that the battery packs are tiny. This is only 980 milliamp hours, which when you're talking about something that's driving a 3-axis gimbal constantly, you tend to only get about 45 minutes to an hour of actual shooting under normal conditions. But they did come up with a solution for that, and that is right now I'm actually running this Osmo off of a giant DJI Phantom 3 battery, and this battery can actually fly a quadcopter for 18 to 20 minutes. So you can imagine running a gimbal, it's pretty much going to run it all day long. Now, to install the battery, you just pop the door open on the bottom, and then you just take the battery pack and you feed it right up through the bottom. It'll pop into place. You close the door and flip the switch. All right, once you go into the Wi-Fi settings and you connect to your Osmo, you have to go through here and activate. Okay, so once you fumble through the activation and you get that right, then it says activation successful. You want to update the firmware. This is the very first thing you should do when you get your camera. They have made a ton of software updates, not only to the firmware on here, but also the application. If you don't have them in sync, you're gonna have massive problems. Now, while the firmware is upgrading, do not touch anything. Literally just walk away, resist the urge to touch anything. This process can take a while. Okay, after about 15 minutes, you get update success, and you start getting this like beeping noise from this. Now, one thing I'd like to mention right now is I'm using both an Android device and I'm recording this using my iPhone 6 connected to the camera. You can see it right there, like moving. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, kind of get an idea of what the lag is like. It's not bad. They greatly improved it. It used to be like a full second in the first app, and now it's almost real time. Now you can see the Osmo working right now. The gimbal stabilized footage, moving back and forth. You can see it's near real time. It's got a little bit of a lag, but it's not bad. And you can use the joystick to rotate and move the camera around also. Now to center up the Osmo, you just double click. There's a trigger on the front. You just double click the trigger, and that centers up the Osmo. You can also click it 3 times, and that rotates it around in selfie mode. Hey, what's up? Or you can hold the trigger, and that does an orientation lock, so it stays locked on no matter how you tilt the camera there. You can see it's always going to point in one direction. Now, another really cool feature, and I like this because I don't remember having it when I first got it. It was after the firmware upgrade. But you can manually position the camera. So you can rotate it like a tripod. Now, you don't want to move it really, really fast because you can damage the gimbal, so you want to move it slow. But if you want to point it at something precise, like you want it sitting right about like there, you can just let it go and it stays where you point it. It's also really good if you're trying to pick a starting point and then you want to use the joystick to manipulate it further. Now, another cool feature is you just take your finger and you set it on the screen, and you'll feel a little haptic feedback, and now you can move the camera around just by swiping your finger on the screen. And this gives you complete remote control of the camera. Alright, so now that we're all set up here, let's go ahead and play around in the software a little bit. First of all, you can click on the camera icon, and you can come down to mic control, and you can adjust the mic gain up and down. Now, you're going to want to do this because out of the box, you notice I'm hitting the red line and I'm clipping constantly, even with the stock microphone. You want to back that off until that's no longer happening. Check, 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 check. Now you're not going to get horrible audio. I wish that the default setting wasn't 30 because that's way too hot. So now to pick your recording modes, you just click on your little cog down here and go up to camera. And you have tons of different video formats, MOV or MP4. I want to do MP4. You can do PAL or NTSC. You can come down, change your image ratios, and all of that stuff to whatever your liking is. You can also go in and change your video resolution, whether you want to shoot 4K, 24 frames per second, or 30 frames per second. Or you can come down to 1080p and do 60 frames per second, which is what I'm doing for this video, because that's the most common format that I shoot for YouTube now. Also, with a gimbal stabilized camera, 60 frames per second just looks badass. So now my battery's down to 26% after doing a 15-minute firmware update and playing around with the camera for about 15 minutes before that. So that's about a half an hour of time. Now, granted, the firmware update might be using a little bit more juice, but it just gives you an idea of how one battery is not enough. So if you buy one of these, make sure you get 2 or 3 batteries, or you go with the option to get the extension and a battery pack for like a DJI Phantom, because this thing has been sitting on 2 bars this entire shoot. So now all that's left to do is record. You just hit your little record button here, and now you go ahead and do your shot. So if I want to do like a cinematic shot across the keyboard, I can pull the trigger, and I can just float the camera across the desk with my hand. And it does all the stabilization for me. Now, I will tell you, this is not good for macro photography. You can't get really close to something. It's designed to focus at a little bit further distance away, which is good for most things, but if you're shooting B-roll and stuff like that, just keep that in mind that you'll probably have to crop from 4K. Now, first off, I wasn't kidding when I said the internal mic sucks. Allow me to demonstrate. So right now, you're hearing me on the internal microphone that's built into the DJI Osmo. This is a horrible, horrible microphone in my opinion. And right now, I'm just barely pushing the levels up on it at all. So now we're going to take the flex mic and plug it in. So now you're hearing me on the flex mic attachment sticking out of the front of the Osmo. Now this is also a lot better sound, but it's still not as good as a professional mic like what I'm wearing right now with the lav setup. Also, you're going to run into some problems when you try selfie mode. The microphone is on the front of the camera, so you tend to sound really muffled standing behind it. So it's better to turn the whole unit around when you're doing selfies instead of clicking the trigger 3 times for selfie mode if you require audio. All right, now we're back to the lav mic, so you guys can see just how dramatic of a difference that is. Now, if you're just a casual vlogger out in the field doing stuff, the flex mic is probably going to be good enough for you, and you can add some bass back into the sound and treble in post if you need to. But if you're going to be moving around a lot, like in a convention setting or something like that, I highly recommend that you do an external microphone, like a Rode video mic or some kind of a shotgun setup, or in my case, I'm using a lav because I'm the only one talking. All right, it's very easy to put your cell phone in and remove it from this thing. Huge kudos on the bracket design. I wish that they would take this bracket design and put it on all of their aircraft, because it does work exceptionally well and it's all metal. Now to remove it, you just take this little knob, little knurled knob here, and loosen it up. and this whole cradle comes off the side. And you'll see that there's a little mount right here for a tripod. Now, there are a billion accessories for this thing. I'll have a link in the video description to the DJI accessory page, but they keep coming out with more and more accessories for this thing. You can find just about anything to mount this to anything. Now, they also sent me a bicycle mount. It's a shock-absorbent bicycle mount that connects to the handlebars of the bike. And I decided to attach it to my bike and take it out to Dirtfish Rally School and ride around for a while. Now, you guys, if you watch my other videos, know that I ride a Rad Power Bike, which is a 1-horsepower electric assist pedal bike that can get up to about 20 miles an hour. And I was cruising around through dirt. I was cruising around through concrete. I was even riding through a warehouse on pavement with grooves and stuff in it. And you can notice the video is actually exceptionally smooth. But you will notice when I go through some of the rougher terrain, it does shake the camera violently because it is kind of an awkward shape and does have some interesting weight to it. So depending on where you mount it to the bike and the type of terrain you're riding through, you're still going to get some vibration in the video. But the gimbal will greatly dampen that effect compared to, say, a GoPro. Now, while I was out with Dirtfish, I went ahead and did some panning shots over in their garage looking at some of their cars and stuff, and you can see that they're actually very fluid pans. Now, this is me walking across the floor and moving the camera around really willy-nilly because I want the camera to work for me, and you can see the gimbal does work exceptionally well. As long as you're not doing super fast movements, it keeps everything very stable. Now, just for the hell of it, I thought it'd be cool to take this DJI Osmo and mount it on a rally car, because I thought it would be cool to have a gimbal stabilized camera on a rally car because it's going through rough gravel, it's sideways, it's shooting mud everywhere, and as you can see, it does a fantastic job, and it actually gives you some amazing effects. You can see as the car is pitching and turning, the gimbal is actually slowly trying to keep up with the car, so you get this really cool tracking effect that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get with any other type of equipment. I mounted this thing on the top of the car, I mounted it on the front bumper, I put it everywhere using my own 2 suction mount that I had, or 2-cup suction mount that attached easily into the side. Now, if I had an extension for the 3-cup suction mount they sent me, I would have used that instead, but it was about improvising because I really wanted to get the shot. And I have to say, the gimbal held up exceptionally well. I sent it out on about 5 different rally runs, going through some pretty harsh terrain, and the thing came back great. I had to wash it off a little, I chipped a little bit of paint off the camera, and I realized that the camera isn't intended necessarily for this use. It's a handheld gimbal. It's not designed to be fastened onto a rally car, but I wanted to see how well it would work, and I had 2 of them, so I figured it was a good calculated risk. And as you can see, it paid off, and the results were amazing. Now, as you can expect, the audio was completely shot when I was running on the car. The flex mic bouncing up and down and banging into the rig, and also you get a lot of internal noise and static from the Osmo itself. So again, if you want to record sound, I highly recommend using external recording equipment, and you can plug it into the Osmo, so the Osmo also gets an audio feed, so you can sync everything in post very easily. And you can tell by the way you hear me now, this is actually a direct input from my wireless transmitter into the Osmo. So you're not hearing audio that I sunk up in post-production. You're actually hearing audio that's inside of the video clip that's being recorded on the Osmo right now. Now, I also took it out to the park and was running around and getting some footage of my friend Graham from Volair Media flying around some of the aircraft that he had, and it's very smooth. Even running with this thing, it smooths out the shots remarkably well. What I can say with absolute certainty is despite the quirks of this device, it's definitely a unique tool that everybody should have in their set. Being able to do handheld, smooth panning B-roll on anything, large or small, is a huge advantage and a huge time saver. So what it comes down to is the DJI Osmo worth it? Now let's go ahead and look at some of the pros and cons. Now the big pros here is it allows you to hand hold shots that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get without rigs and sliders and everything like that. And that alone makes this thing amazing. Also, you can tell by the recording right now, the video quality is actually fantastic. It's 60 frames per second, 1080p, it looks great, and at 4K, it looks amazing. There's tons of information on what the 4K looks like out on the internet. Just go search for 4K Osmo footage. Again, I wanted to shoot this in 60 frames per second at 1080p because that's the most common format that I upload to YouTube. Now, again, my biggest complaints are the battery life on this thing sucks. You get about 45 minutes tops recording when you're going constant at conventions and stuff like that. So you find that you're swapping batteries constantly. But they did create the adapter so you can plug it into the Phantom battery pack, and that thing seems to run this thing for just about ever because that battery pack is massive. So I figured that mitigates the problem enough that I'm not even worried about it anymore. And the adapter is fairly cheap. I think it's about 25 bucks. Now, a huge pro is the weight. This thing does not weigh a lot. It is very easy, especially with your phone off the rig, to move it around quickly over your head, under things, and maneuver it around. I also like the fact that you can hold the phone separately to the camera so that you're looking at the camera and you're getting the shot that you want. I think that that gives you so much flexibility. It's awesome. I also like the fact that I can just touch the screen on this and maneuver the camera around. When you're shooting all by yourself and trying to create good content, being able to do something like that is very, very important. I don't have to keep going to the camera and adjusting the tripod and coming back. I can get the perfect shot. Now, a big pro with this camera is the DJI Go app is available on both iOS and Android. And I found that there are some quirks in the software. I've had times where the software doesn't find the camera even though I'm connected to the network. I've had times where I shut the camera completely down and turn it back on, and it doesn't find the camera until I go into settings and switch back to the network on both Android and iOS. But once it's actually connected to the device, I found that there were very little problems. Starting and stopping recording seemed to work good. I had one problem with audio corruption, but after the latest update, it looks like they've resolved that issue, and I haven't had that anymore. And they are constantly updating the software and the firmware for this device to make it a lot better. When I first got the device and started using it, I had massive software problems. And just over the month that I was using it, the one update that they released resolved most of those. Now, the software has a long way to go before it's flawless, but it's intuitive to use. Has lots of options. It gives you complete manual control of the camera if you want to be an expert level photographer. And one other thing I would like to mention too is if you're into photography, this is awesome because you can hand hold long exposures. The gimbal allows you to stay locked onto a target and will mitigate any kind of shake that you have in your hand. And I think that that is absolutely amazing. Also, I think that this has applications with people that are disabled, that might have something like Parkinson's disease or something like that, where they're constantly in a state of motion or they have a hard time holding still. I think this camera would help them regain some confidence in shooting video themselves. And I think that if you know somebody that this would help, you should definitely introduce them to it, because I think that that's a huge market that's not really explored for this. Now, as far as a camera that you want to shoot YouTube videos on, here's your example. This entire video has been shot on the DJI Osmo. I have not used any other cameras for B-roll. All of the B-roll, all of the jump cuts, all of the movement of the camera, everything you've seen in this video was shot on a DJI Osmo. The only thing external that's attached to it is the adapter to the phantom battery, because I've been recording for several hours and I needed one power source that could last that long. And I'm wearing a wireless lavalier mic that's plugged into the Osmo. So the audio that you're hearing is actually coming from an external microphone that I have literally taped onto my stomach. Other than that, what you're seeing right now is video right through the Osmo, undoctored in any way, not even color corrected because I'm way too lazy to do that stuff. But this is the end result. So guys, I hope you enjoyed my video of the DJI Osmo, and if you want to check it out, I have links down in the video description. This is a great tool for anybody that's shooting video out in the field, and I think it complements drones rather nicely, because there's a lot of drone shots that you can't get low to the ground for fear of crashing, or you don't want to look stupid running around with the drone in your hands. I mean, you technically could do it, but it'd be weird. Plus, it's a huge conversation piece. Whenever I go walk around a convention, people stop me constantly and they're like, what in the hell is that thing? Because it looks like a sci-fi laser gun from Star Trek. So guys, as usual, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments or come over and tweet me on Twitter. I am at Barnacules. All of the links to all of my social networks are down in the video description. And that's a wrap. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please take a moment and subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot. Also come over to Twitter. I'm at Barnacules. I'm a real social guy. Also, if you have a couple of minutes, check out some of these many other videos. I made them myself.